of information to put into your brain this morning, and I hope you have some room for a little bit more. What I'm doing today is called Lessons in Leadership, and to be honest, I made this up, so this is now a test run. We're going to see if it works.
All right.
So first things first, congratulations, you are now a leader. You have been elected into your positions, and I'd like to know, do we have leaders, do we have women here who have been leaders in other organizations previously? How many are the first-time leaders in Alpha Delta? How many is their first leadership position ever? Well, now that you're here and you have responsibilities, people are looking at you now and like, all right, do something. Well, whether you're brand new to your position as leader, or you are an old pro, the thing you have to remember that even though you might know something, you don't know everything. So you have to be open to getting more information from your peers, from your alums, from your new and inexperienced members, because they have a lot of new insight to share with you as well. So in this one we are going to discuss three things. The first thing is leadership profile. Second is 5 areas of leadership. And the third is motivating your members. Now, I'm going to need some help. The first thing I'm going to give out is this worksheet called Care Profile. So let's start this. You can start once you're in. I'll come back to help you. Yes, please. Break it down by row. So when you get this sheet, it'll look like something like this. Then you eventually get it into your hand. So you're going to look at all the different characteristics on the sheet, and you are going to circle 10 that most fits you.
I got this one. Maybe. I might run. Like I think.
I got these. You can see them. And then, you ready to go? So look for 10 items, 10 characteristics that most represent you, and circle them. Yes. And then once you've identified those 10, you're going to rank them. 10 being, yes, this is most definitely like me, and 1 being the lower on the scale. Okay. Next, draw a line. So every second row, you draw a line across. Please. Now we're going to do some math. So everything in the top row, add up that number and put that in the box in the bottom for congeniality. Second row is A for action, add up that, add that to the A box. Third row is for R, and the fourth row is for E. Are you all good? I think we're all good. Okay. How many ladies has their highest number in the C range? Okay. So you're predominantly in the realm of asking, is this fair for everyone? You want to make sure everyone is on board with what you're doing. You typically need harmony among your members, your chapter. You have a very strong concern for other people, and you're very maintenance-oriented. Does that kind of fit who you are? And then more. Who is scored highest in A, action? That would be me too. So for action, your questions are, what do you want? When do you want it? You are the ones who get things done.
That's a D.
You take charge and you want to do it right now. Does that sound accurate?
That was an I. I'm a DC.
Who are my ladies who have a high R number for reason? Okay. You mainly are. Let's make sure we have the facts. You take a look at all the facts and you analyze every detail and you really think about you doing your actions. Does that sound accurate to you?
Yes.
And finally, who are our ladies with a high E? Excellence.
Ooh.
For you, you're thinking it's worth doing right.
Right.
You are overly involved, maybe to
Yes.
You're very easily motivated. You're very loyal, so thank you. And you're very responsive. Do you believe that this is an accurate picture of who you are? So now we've talked about the overall general characteristics. Let's bring up some items where you guys are rock stars and where you can use a little help. So let's bring up our congeniality women. You are very enthusiastic and generous. You enjoy these group activities, so yay, girl. And you thrive on getting feedback and positive recognition. You need to know that you're doing things to your standards. However, this has a flip side, and what you need to be thinking about is that by making friends with everybody, you may weigh the popularity of it more than the actual results that came out of it. You might have a hard time in receiving or giving negative comments because you want everyone to like you. Because you're so overly involved in being into these group activities, you might be unorganized and trying to balance all this stuff. And because you want everyone to know what you're thinking, you're spending your time in the clouds and not actually doing the things that you want to do. That sound?
God, that's perfect.
So our action women. You are a self-starter and fast-paced. You are assertive. You say what you think. You enjoy a challenge, and you might go out looking for some. And you are very direct. I guess that I'm from Jersey, so I use that as my excuse. I'm actually being northern in the ass. However, my weaknesses are that I can be very blunt and sometimes sarcastic, and that may rub off some people in the wrong way. I could be defensive when I'm criticized. I might not say it out loud, but I'm thinking ways to do something bad to you. I may be perceived that I have show little concerns for your feelings, and that might not always be true, but because I'm like, let's do it now, the softer, fuzzy, warm, fuzzy side of me might not always be as evident. And, well, I'm standing right up here, hey, look at me! So yes, this very much fits into my action personality. Next are our reason ladies. Now, you're a great problem solver because you want to get all the facts. You're very patient, and you'll make sure that you have all the information in order to get things done. You work great on a team because you want to, again, involve everybody's input. And you prefer personal one-on-one attention as opposed to just being part of the overall crowd. However, because you are so involved in the detail, you might find yourself being bogged down in it. Because you're so focused on one thing, you might have difficulty in doing other things. You may have some resistance to change because you just want to, get everything you need to know and just do it. And again, you tend to avoid the conflict because you just want to make sure everyone's all nice and feeling good. How does that sound? Your excellence, ladies. You prefer very orderly procedures. A checklist would be great for you. You are very diplomatic on your team, and you're a great planner. However, flip side, Your very high standards may often bring to very extreme demands of you and for the people that you happen to work with. Because you pay so much attention to detail, it might just paralyze you. I don't know what else to do. You may be perceived as serious, nothing with that emotion, which I kind of get as well, so maybe I'm borderline here. And if confronted with a problem or a criticism, you might just kind of hold on to it and let it fester, then address it and come to a resolution about it. How does this sound appealing to our... So the point that I wanted to show here is that a good e-board, or really a good chapter, is really a mix of all four styles. You need to be considering everyone's different strengths and everyone's different weaknesses when working together. And this is a good exercise to bring back to your e-board, to your chapter, so you can see how all of you women work together, how you can balance out each other's strengths and weaknesses. And if there is a conflict that may come up, you can use the different leadership styles to figure out, all right, what's the best approach to either speak to this woman, to work together with this woman. So ultimately, your chapter can be well balanced and ready for success. Okay, so that is the first part. We learned our leadership style. So the second part is about different levels. So before we get into the different levels of leadership, there's one thing that you do need to understand about leadership, is that leadership is not a position. You don't just get elected or appointed to a position and you're done. I'm a leader. Look at me. I'm going to run this chapter. I'm going to ultimately run the world. It doesn't quite work like that. Leadership is actually a process. It's something you have to work at and do every day. It is dynamic. It's something that you grow into, and it's something that affects not only you, but everyone who you influence, who looks up to you, who follows you. So a good leader is successful and respected because she earns it, because she inspires others, and because she provides guidance to those who choose to follow her. So let's talk now about the 5 different levels of leadership. You can see it as a pyramid, and because each level is a foundation for the next one that comes above it. So the first one is position. This is where you start it as soon as you are elected or appointed to position. And people follow you basically because they have to. They have no other choice. But that only goes so far. The next level above that, which you have to work for, is the level of permission. And that is a level of leadership that is based on relationships and reaching out to women, colleagues, friends, people that you know well or even that you don't know well, to start making these relationships that you're going to build upon. The third level is production, and this is where you actually get things done. This is where you start marking things off on your annual progress report. Yes, our chapter has done this because I have gathered my chapter and my councils to do something together. Beyond that, and this is where it comes a little more intense, is people development. Now this is where you look towards the future for your chapter, and you keep an eye out for those upcoming new members and our rising sophomores, and you think, all right, where do I see them fitting in on e-board in the chapter? And keep an eye out for them. And finally, at the very top is pinnacle. And that is strongly based on talent. Because what you're doing here is you're creating a legacy because of who you are and what you represent. Now, these levels of leadership is not just for sorority life. It's something that's going to follow you throughout the rest of your life, your career, because this is really what it is. You know, sorority is a training ground for when you get out and you are now successful, productive contributors to society. Now, these levels, they can change from person to person. I may be on a level 1 with you, but I may have a relationship with you, so we are on level 2. But I might have a stronger working relationship with Rebecca because we have done stuff together, so I'm on level 3 with her. So it can change according to person, and it can also change from time to time. I may do something that, because I'm so action-minded, I may rub people the wrong way, and they're like, gosh, she's a pain in the ass. I don't want to work with her. That might be bumping down a little bit. So I have to work to getting back up to the higher levels of leadership. But the good part here is, once I've gone up to a specific level, I can easily get back up there because I know the steps that I need to take in order to make those relationships, get things done, and so forth. Do you have any questions so far? Or comments? So let's talk a little more about them in detail. The position. Have you ever had a parent or a brother or sister or a teacher? Well, why do I have to do that? It's because I'm the mom, that's why. How does it make you feel when you get that kind of reaction? Because I said so, that's why. Frustrated. Else want to share?
Like it's not a real reason. Inferior.
Inferior, I like that one. Does it really make you want to be involved? You really want to go out and help this person who says, well, just because I said so, you got to do it? No. So at this stage, once you've gotten your position, you can start thinking about, all right, what is my purpose? What do I want to do now that I'm in this role? For me, my purpose that I've kind of taken on for myself lately is I want to be a connector of people and ideas. So I'm trying to do everything, all the actions that I take, try and fit that purpose. So you can start thinking about what do you want to do in your position? How do you want to take that throughout your year in this office? Next one is permission. And again, this is about building relationships. Because it's not about me anymore, it's about we. I can't do something on my own, I need all of us to do it. So building relationships, this is not where I'm talking about, hey, what are y'all doing? Let's hang out together. You have to get beyond electronics and start making the face-to-face. Make real connections, whether they be your best friend, your big or your little, those kind of come naturally. Where I'm challenging you is if there are women that you don't quite see eye to eye to, that's where you start focusing your relationships. Because even though you may not agree on things, if you guys can agree that you have each other's back, that is more women who's going to be there to support you, be your foundation to allow you to rise to higher levels. So let's start this relationship building right now. I'm going to ask you to stand. How are we going to do this? All right, what I want you to do is stand, turn to someone, and just give them a big hug. Alright, next on the list is production. And again, this is where we start to get things done. So now you have your leadership position, and you started to make the relationships that's going to bring the women to get your back. Now that you have them behind you, you can work together towards your purpose and start accomplishing things that the chapter wants to do, because together each accomplishes more. Now, people don't join organizations, people join people. So how many of you joined Alpha Z because of a personal connection that you made? Anybody want to share the story of that personal connection and what brought you in?
We have a hallway. We don't like leave small, so we just have a hallway. And I transferred in and moved on to the hallway and was surrounded by all of them. And they quickly took me in and was like, yeah, absolutely. So I ended up joining because of that.
Oh, good. Anyone else want to share their personal connection story?
I transferred as well, and the first 3 people that spoke to me on Facebook through Alpha Z, and from then on I knew that.
One more.
My sister was an Alpha
Be seated. Okay. So you may think, hey, I'm getting things done. I've checked things off my APR. I'm pretty good. I can say that I've accomplished something on my chapter. But here's where I want to challenge you. Keep pushing forward. Because what you want to do is prepare for your chapter for the years that you're not there. So step 4 of the leadership level is people development. And again, we are living by our motto. We are inspiring other women to realize their potential. So this is where you start looking out for our younger sisters. Who's going to be the next president? Who's going to be the next NUMOC? Start having them shadow you. Start putting the ideas into their head. Say, you know what, you might be an awesome president. Have you thought about that? Let me show you some of the things that we did. I was chapter president as a sophomore. I would have never thought I was going to do that. It wasn't until my chapter president, Michelle Rita, who then turned into an ELC and a national vice president, she said, you know what, I think you're going to be the next chapter president. I'm like, all right. So I knew my path. I knew now the focus that I needed to take in order to make sure that my chapter was going to continue on in a successful path. So the last level is the pinnacle. And what this does, this allows you to really leave your legacy. So now that you've had the position, you've made the relationships, you've gotten things done, and you have found out who the future leaders of your chapter is going to be, once those women who you designated, right, these are my leaders, once they pick up the torch to carry on and they start looking for women younger than them and inspiring them and getting them involved, then you've reached the highest point, because everything that you've done for the chapter to inspire women is now a recurring cycle. So you are making room for others at the top. And the best part for you is by creating more leaders to help you get things done, you can now sit back, let the production stuff happen by our newer leaders, and you can help see the bigger picture and start helping identify who are the next leaders. So this is what you can be doing for your chapter. You don't have to just stop at the production level. You can see how you can continue to be a positive force for your chapter. So again, this is not something that's just sorority life. This can carry on throughout, and you're going to see it once you start hitting the work world. So this last part, we talked about the different leader styles, and we talked about the different leadership levels. This is going to give you ideas on how you can actually apply it to your chapter. I saw this quote and it made me laugh, because this horse analogy can apply to any organization. The horse is dangerous at both ends and uncomfortable in the middle. So let's think about this horse. The front end of the horse. It's the front part. It does all the thinking and it kind of leads the way, and it's definitely the most vocal part of the horse. You then have the back part of the horse. Well, they're always pulling up the rear. They're full of crap, and you piss them off. You're gonna hear from it. You're gonna get their reaction. However, the middle part of the horse is really where all the action is, all the stuff that's going on. And these are vital actions. And you don't really know what's going on there unless something goes wrong. Now, the same horse analogy can apply to the chapter. So think about our top third. And I would suspect that many of our top third is here. So our top third members, they eat, live, and breathe Alpha Psi Delta. They couldn't imagine their life without Alpha Psi Delta and don't understand why people don't have the same commitment that they do. If asked to volunteer for a position, they're the first ones to raise their hand and to grab their roommate, come on, you're doing it with me. And they make time for Alpha Psi Delta. It's now their highest priority, sometimes over schoolwork, but Alpha Psi Delta is a very core part of who they are, and they just want to apply as much of their energy as they can into it. And they got those bottom thirds, and every chapter has them. And these are the ones who are most vocal at times. They tend to be the cause of the most conflict. But why? They may have checked out after being in school for 3, 4, 5 years. They may just be burnt out of all the things that they have to do. Maybe the chapter has changed since the time that they were initiated and they just can't accept that. Or They may be former first, third members who are so involved that they just like, "Ah, I'm done." And they now sit in the back of the room and, "You're doing it wrong. That's not how we used to do it." You just want to like keep it. But that leaves our middle third. Now these are the women who are really having the most struggle here. They are trying to balance school, job, family, all these commitments that their priorities shift on a daily basis. And they love the chapter. They would do anything for it, but they don't often have all the time to commit to it, not as much as their top thirds. And they often feel stuck because they hear all the chatter back and forth. They know that our top third is pissed at the bottom third, and the bottom third is like, "I don't want to do what the top third says." So they're just kind of, "What do I do?" No one wants to be in that uncomfortable environment, and that may add to their hesitancy to want to be more active. So because we as leaders, our goal is to get the chapter moving forward, and to do that you need the majority of the chapter. Well, let's write off the bottom third, because everything you do, spending your time with them, is time wasted away from our precious middle third. Instead, focus on these middle third women. What can you do to help bring them out of their struggle, their conflict? Essentially, how do you engage the middle third? So, here it goes. Let's take some time to ask their opinion. And it doesn't have to be in the middle of a chapter meeting. You can take them aside, take them out for coffee. If there's something that's going on in the chapter, what do you think about this? I want to know what's on your mind. You're not very involved in the chapter, but I want to know what's going on there. Maybe you can help give us some answers. And once you ask their opinion, actually listen to them. Because they're balancing so many different priorities, if they are giving you the time to voice their opinion, give them the courtesy to actually listen to them. The things to start and end your meetings on time. I can't stand it when a business meeting starts off 5 minutes late. Then they want to talk for 10 minutes about the job, their kid, who to learn potty training. I'm like, I don't care. We have a thing to do. Let's do it. So it's important to start your meetings on time and to end them on time, because they have other things that they need to do as well. We talked about minimizing conflict between the top third and the bottom third. It doesn't always have to be aired at a chapter meeting where they're there, where the middle thirds are just kind of stuck between them. Once our middle third members have taken the time to contribute their time, thank them. Let them know that they have been appreciated for being a part of a chapter or a sisterhood event or a philanthropy event, because you know it took a lot of time for them to get themselves there to be involved. If you know that they are struggling with trying to balance all these things, offer to help. Is there something that you can do to take off their plate to make their lives more easier that'll make them want to attend more chapter events? And then finally, slow down all the decisions. If things are happening too quickly and your middle third members kind of feeling like they're in a tennis, like what's going on, give them a chance to absorb what's going on. Let them think about it. Let them be involved. The point here is don't ignore the middle. They are a vital part of the chapter, and you need their support in order for the entire chapter to succeed. Well, you're thinking, well, what about the bottom third? What do you do about them? You just leave them alone? Basically, yeah. Because, but there are some guidelines here. What you consider doing is making a minimum set of requirements for your entire membership. This is the least thing you need to do to be a sister. You have to show up, theoretically, for 2 chapter meetings a month. You need to do 1 philanthropy event a year. You can make this so embarrassingly ridiculous that if you don't meet these standards, come on, seriously? Now, because you're holding the whole chapter accountable to this, if your bottom third members are not meeting the standards, well, peace out, bye. But if they are, then you have to leave them alone. If they are doing the bare minimum that you, as a chapter, say this is the least you need to do, then they're hitting it, and leave them alone, and then focus on your middle members who really needs the additional support. Do you have any comments here? Anything to share? Sound? Okay. So last, but definitely not least, What about us? What about me? The middle group, they get all the flexibility, and the bottom, well, they pretty much get the pass. What do I get out of it? I'm doing all this effort, and I'm putting so much in it. What do I get out of it? Well, you know that appreciation and awards, they only go so far. And it's nice to have, and I have my little awards hanging on my wall. But honestly, it only lasts so long. No member, whether it be in sorority or in your work teams or throughout the rest of your existence, no person is going to have the same level of commitment in anything that you do ever. And, well, that's pretty much life. It isn't fair. However, don't get discouraged. Because what we definitely don't want to see happen is to have our top third turn into our bottom third. Because then that becomes a recurring cycle, and that does nothing to help the chapter improve, and that does nothing to help you go up that pyramid of leadership. So, after this, we have our chapter breakouts, and these are some of the things I want you to consider when you're talking to your chapters. Can you identify who the top, middle, and third members of your chapter are? And how do you bring these middle members back into the fold? How do you get them back involved? Maybe you can start identifying what are your minimum requirements you need as a chapter in order to continue in our membership. And finally, how do you appreciate our top third members? This all came from two books which I highly recommend. First one is called Motivating Middle, and that's where all the top third, bottom third, the horse analogy came from. It's a quick and easy read. And the pyramid came from 5 Levels of Leadership. This is a bigger book. They put you to sleep, but if you start creating your library, this might be something great to have. Do you have any questions or comments or things you want to share? All right, you guys are leaders.
Yay!